Welcome back, everybody. It is the PDPreps podcast coming to you noon, February 27th. Loaded show for everyone today. Man, winter sports final stages here. NCS playoffs are in the books. We're going to talk everything that happened over the last 2 weeks. I think last time we talked to everyone was, I think the first week of the NCS playoffs. Everything is finished up already, or finished up by now. We have 4 section champions locally. We have 12 teams playing on in the NorCals. We're going to talk about all that stuff coming up. We have state wrestling is also in the books. Whole lot coming your way in this show. Keenan, it's been a pretty wild last couple weeks. We were doing some research. I don't know when the last time we've had 4 section champs in winter sports has been. But yeah, we had probably one of the biggest wins ever, I'd say, for a girls basketball team in program history. We had, an awesome run from the Ukiah boys soccer team to win the NCS Division III title, their first title in school history or program history. Newman boys soccer finally gets over the hump. Justin Siena boys basketball finally gets over the hump. Just a really, really fun, last couple weeks here that has culminated in a couple teams, programs taking advantage for the first time. So, man, it's, I know last year's section or, winter sports playoffs were pretty wild as well, but I'd say this is probably, one of the most successful, winter sports seasons that we've had, around here in some time.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's funny, we do these podcasts like every other week now, and once the playoffs go up, these two weeks go by very quickly.
Yeah, they fly by.
So lots of lots of great action over the last couple weeks, no doubt about it. And I think going into last weekend, we had what eight teams, I believe 7 or 8 teams in section title games, and
yeah,
for 4 of them to come out, that's a 50% record. That's pretty positive. Obviously, others were this close to.
We could have had a
to
lot
getting
more.
It.
We could have had
Yeah,
more for sure.
Could have had a lot more. No doubt about it. But great part is, it's crazy. Winter season isn't over yet because all those teams are moving on, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what a wild, fun winter sports season it's been so far.
Absolutely, and successful too. I think that's the big point as well. So, all right, let's jump right into it though. We're gonna touch on kind of the 4 teams that did win. We just kind of rattle them off over the top, but kind of go into a bit more detail about how they did it. Kind of the awesome stories for each of them. Talk about a few of the finalists, the teams that were just so close and but just couldn't quite get it done, and then a little bit of wrestling stuff. Keenan, you were following the state wrestling stuff pretty closely. Again, very successful, for local wrestlers, down in Fresno too. Was it Fresno or was it Clovis?
It was Bakersfield, neither.
Bakersfield, close. It's all the same. It's all the same.
It's
all the same. Sorry to all of our Central Valley listeners, but same thing. And then we'll touch a bit on to the NorCal brackets and seedings. Again, we're coming to you guys on February 27th. First round NorCal games are starting tonight. We're going to have some coverage from all of those. Again, I think all 12 teams 11 of the 12 teams are playing tonight. The one team that's not, I think the D6 teams for basketball aren't playing, and I think Newman girls basketball is playing on Wednesday as well.
Either way, they open up today and tomorrow.
For sure. So by the time this pod comes out, a lot of these results will already, be probably, in the books. But anyway, it's still good to kind of, talk about the matchups, and there's always tons of debate and discussion about competitive equity this time of year. So we'll talk a bit about that too. But we'll kind of get things going here. Keenan, you were there. Biggest win for Newman girls basketball probably since they won the D4 state title in 15-16. I know that is probably, their biggest accomplishment, but I don't know. I'd say an NCS Open Division banner is probably 1A, 1B. You'd say. I mean, beating San Ramon Valley, beating Carondelet Lake, being the number 2 seed. Just a really great run for Newman girls basketball. But you were there. I mean, what was the experience like, kind of watching them play over this run?
Before I get into the game, it's interesting because you look back at what Monica Myrtle and her program was back when they won the state D4 state title, and you look at them now, right? And they've been the only team to ever continuously compete in the Open Division since its inception in 2020. You know,
Yeah.
the Open Division hasn't been around forever. It's only 2020 was the first year that they brought the Open Division into effect and really brought the top six teams into one bracket, into one division. Newman
In
got to
many
the final.
years, sorry, quick thing, but in many years, it has been the hardest and the most talented girls basketball, tournament in Northern California. I mean, Sac
Oh,
Joaquin
by a
section for sure
mile.
is up there, but NCS, I'd say, probably takes that cake most years.
But yeah, I totally agree with that. And yeah, the top. I mean, it's the best of the best, really. And Newman made the championship game back in 2020, in that inaugural season of the Open Division. Haven't been back since. You know, they've lost a couple quarterfinals, lost a semifinal. Were close last year against San Ramon Valley, who they ended up beating this year in the final. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, that it was Dublin High School, great venue, great gym for it as well, and you know, it was, I mean, it was just it was everything you wanted in a battle between the top two seeds of a bracket for sure. You know, everybody's talent was on display. I mean, Newman maybe not even their best game, even though they did win. But we've been watching Newman like all season long, and we've seen them at their best.
Yeah.
But I mean, San Ramon Valley fought to the end, and you know, it was crazy. You know, at the end of the game, head coach Monica Myrtle just told me, "Look, we needed to put ourselves in a position to win the game at the end," and that's exactly what they did. Janelle Pena, a senior post player, two huge back-to-back buckets to put them up, pretty big, 58-55. And then, of course, who else but the Brazilian superstar Tia Quiros, finished that, put the stamp on it there with a putback layup, and then a free throw to kind of ice it. And you know, it was a long time coming, for this group for sure. Monica knew that this group was special. I think,
Yeah.
Gus, you and I knew this group was special, especially once Tissa came on and was eligible. Um, but yeah, I mean, the joy and elation from those, that was exuded from those players after that final buzzer sounded, after they were handed the plaque. It was just like,
Mhm.
it was almost, it was something that obviously they never experienced before. But hey, Newman finally got over the hump and reached that Open Division mountaintop.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd say that state banner probably, hangs higher, I'd say, than the NCS Open one. But again, I think it's pretty close as far as accomplishments for this program because, I mean, back when Newman, was in D4 for the state playoffs, again, before the Open Division, was even a thing. And I mean, again, very few teams have won state titles around here ever. So again, just the two accomplishments are like very close. And I do wonder kind of, I like asking Monica, like, it'd be hard to probably, pry the answer out of her because it's like, oh, it's like both are probably so special to her, but it's like the NCS Open,
Hmm.
huge accomplishment for any, for a girls basketball team, especially from, little old Santa Rosa up here too. So, huge
Little old Santa
accomplishment,
Rosa.
little old Santa. I mean, again, going up against the, the year in, year out juggernauts that are San Ramon Valley and Carondelet. I mean, like these are some, storied programs. And I mean, looking at, the Newman, at the current kind of iteration of the Newman program, like they, I mean, when they merged with, or, when Ursuline closed and, they all merged together with, with Newman, I was like 10 or so years ago. I mean, this program, since Monica's taken over, has just kind of, reached that upper echelon. And, I mean, again, they've been in that conversation as one of the best teams in Northern California for the last, I don't know, 10 years maybe at this point.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a new pinnacle, I'd say, for them too. And yeah, it's NorCal playoffs coming up this week. Again, I know that, they've kind of been a shoe-in for a spot in the NorCal Open playoffs. And we'll talk about that a bit more at the end because I think both of us were a bit surprised at their seating.
Yes.
One of the few surprises I'd say throughout the NorCal seedings. The competitive equity thing is always an interesting debate this time of year, but
Totally.
we'll get to that here in a bit. But moving on to The Ukiah boys soccer team. So this has been a team that has been building the last couple of years. I think when Shane Huff took over, they had won like 6 or 7 games over their past like 3 or 4 seasons. Like just not a program that was really heading in the right direction. And Shane and his coaching staff has really turned it around. First section title in program history. They really also, I will say, not to take anything away from them, because they shut out every team they played. I think it was a 2-0 win, 1-0, 3-0, 2-0, like no goals allowed throughout the section playoffs to this title run. Huge accomplishment. But they really did benefit from Marin Academy, I'd say, losing in the quarterfinals to San Rafael. Definitely kind of, I'd say, knocked out one of their big opponents. But to be, again, to their credit too, it's like they shut out San Rafael, the team that beat Marin Academy. They shut out Archie Williams, in the championship game. Like those Marin County teams are really freaking good. So, yeah, I mean, Ukiah soccer, again, huge accomplishment for them. From what we heard, unfortunately, we weren't able to cover the game on Friday. There was just too much other stuff going on. But from what we heard, there was like over 1,000 people there. I'll be heading up there tonight for the NorCal opener. So just kind of a really special run. Again, kind of seated as the number 4 seed too in Division III. I know both of us were hoping for a rematch with Ukiah Annalee in the championship game. Didn't happen, but still a really cool accomplishment for the Ukiah boys soccer team to kind of get over that, again, to kind of finish off of this massive rebuild here and, reach the pinnacle that they've never been at before. So, yeah, shout out to the Ukiah boys soccer team as well.
Yep, you said little old Santa Rosa. It's like little old
Little
Ukiah,
Ukiah,
man.
no
I mean,
doubt.
they are. I mean, every single one of their sporting events, no matter what sporting event
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the whole. Everyone comes out, and it's almost like every athletic facility they have is like a fortress. It's and it's its own atmosphere, and I know you're excited to get up there tonight
Yeah.
to see what it's all about, especially for a NorCal game, no less. So
I know. I'm expecting it'll be an awesome event and atmosphere. And yeah, from what Shane tells me too, again, this is like kind of, kicking ourselves a little bit here because like we haven't been able to go up to see a game yet. And it's just logistically, it can be hard to get all the way up to Ukiah and Mendocino and, to cover games. It can be hard to get photographers up there and such. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of witness this for the first time because he says it's a whole event and they get tons of people out and there's like music and like anyway. So they really kind of put on a big show for the whole thing. So I am excited to go and check that out. But Cardinal Newman boys soccer too. Talking
yeah,
about getting over the hump. Man, they really exercised some demons, I'd say, this week. Yeah, number 1 seed. So they finally took care of business. 13-2 scoring differential throughout the playoffs. Just took care of business finally. First section title since 2005 for them. So man, I'm pushing 20 years now, which is crazy. But yeah, last couple of years though. Last year, upset as the top seed in the quarterfinals. Double OT, 1-0 loss to Piedmont, brutal. Year before that, they lost in the semis, and then the year before that, they lost in the section title game. So it's just 3 years of, heartbreak, I'd say. So then to finally kind of, again, you know, put it away, hang a banner. Props to Ryan Corbo and that crew over there. They've been, just a fun team to cover, fun team to watch, and I think all year people have been saying like, Newman's probably the best team in the area. And yeah, they finally were able to, to prove it and bring home a section pennant, and now on the NorCals for them too. So, and again, we've kind of mentioned the competitive equity and the seating stuff, but I'd say Newman boys were one of the teams that might have gotten the short end of the stick as far as it comes to some NorCal seatings.
yeah, yep,
You
yeah.
win a section title, and then all of a sudden, you have to hit the road. And
Oh,
I
this is
think
gonna.
they're,
Yeah, stay tuned to the end of the pod because it's gonna be a fun
yeah,
discussion. I'm telling you.
yeah. So it's again, yeah, great for Newman, tough draw for NorCal's, but yeah, definitely something to celebrate after again after the last couple years of just coming up just agonizingly
Hmm.
short. So yeah.
Yep. Next
Um,
one.
yeah, Justin Siena boys. Again, we're getting over the hump is a bit of a theme here, but Justin Siena boys kind of same thing. Last year they lost in the D4 title game to a university, one of the best, small school, private programs from around here. Year before that they lost in the semis, but they made a really deep run in NorCal's after that, but yeah, the Justin Siena boys, I mean, top seed in D4, took care of business kind of the same way as the Newman boys soccer team did. They beat Ignacio Valley by 7 in the championship game. Nick Jeremiah's, this guy's been just shooting lights out the last couple of weeks, but 34 points in the championship game, 5 threes. We haven't covered Justin a whole lot since, Jordan obviously, left for a new job, but yeah, I do think that this is a team that we're going to need to start paying a little more attention to here come NorCal, because they are the number 2 seed. They're going to be hosting a lot of games here, going down the stretch, and I think that they're in a pretty good position to win a NorCal, or at least playing a NorCal title game, and possibly maybe even have a chance to go to Sacramento for a chance to play in the in an actual state title game. So yeah, Justin Santa boys. I mean, again, that's what 3. I mean, all 4 of these teams, I'd say you could probably sum up in they got over the hump kind of category for this year.
Yeah.
So, kind of sticking with the theme there. But I don't know, anything else on these 4 section winners here before we kind of get into the oh so close but not quite category.
Oh gosh, I don't want to talk about this category, but yeah. Anyways, no, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, man, getting over the hump. It's crazy. It's just crazy because of how good these 4 section title winners have been all year long.
Yeah.
And in recent years as well. And you would think, just based off paper, that they won the last 4 section titles in a row, right? And still, some of them this was their first in that division, first ever. What would first in how many years? So it's pretty awesome to see. Pretty awesome to see. Them really back on top. So
also, yeah. I mean, again, to your point too, it also shows how hard it is to win a section title. I mean,
yes,
some of these teams have been top seeds for the last couple of years, and just you have a bad showing one night and that's it. That's the end of your run. And, the special team, special class, and, you come away with nothing. So yeah, huge accomplishment for those 4 teams, those 4 programs. But yeah, like you also mentioned that, mentioned it earlier too, we had, what was it? 8 teams, I'd say, was it playing for section championships, this past weekend? So 4 winners, 4 losers, and some of these winners were just absolute heartbreakers. I'd say the big story too that a lot of people were following, I was following pretty closely, was the Montgomery boys basketball team making, one of the deepest runs that a Sonoma County boys basketball team has made in quite some time. Around here, they made it to the NCSD 2 championship game. I was at the semifinal game against Murrow Catholic, one of the best games that I've seen in person. Just electric atmosphere, like really felt like kind of some old school Monty, old school Monty energy, from like, over the last 10 years, where they've been really just, or last, I guess, 20, 30 years, shoot, actually, one of the most storied programs that we have around here as far as boys basketball goes, but all kind of, culminated in a heartbreaking championship loss to Benicia, the 6th seed. Benicia kind of went on this Cinderella run, I guess you could call it too, but they beat, who did they beat? They beat American. Actually, I was going through this. So they beat, I'd say up until they beat Montgomery, they beat only higher seeds. So I think they beat the 11 seed Petaluma in the first round. They beat the 14 seed American in the second round, and they beat the 10 seed St. Patrick's St. Vincent in the semifinals. So, and then again, to all those higher seeds credit though, American upset Redwood, St. Pat, St. Vincent upset, Cardinal Newman. So, and then again, like Benicia comes into the championship game. Monty goes up 10 in the first half, goes up 12 in the first half. Caden DeVries is balling. Benicia switches to his zone defense, and Monty just goes ice cold. I think they scored 1 point. They had 0 buckets, I want to say, over in the fourth quarter. Score was tied 47-47, and Monty goes scoreless for like a 6-minute span. And Benicia gets a few baskets late, a couple stops. Monty just can't hit a freaking thing, over the final stretch there. But just a really tough way for Montgomery to go out. I mean, this has been a really special season for them. Again, they're still playing on in the NorCals, but had they won, it would have been their first section title and first section title for any boys team around here since like 2011, I want to say, or something like that. So just a really tough one to see. Again, this Montgomery boys basketball team has been such a blast to cover this year. But yeah, just a tough way to end end what was a really special section run. So same thing I'd say with the Creo girls basketball team too. I know that you were at that championship game. I covered the semifinal game. Been a really hard season for them. Losing their head coach Jeff Paul a couple weeks ago. And then kind of putting together this big special run. But Creo girls basketball has been super impressive this year. I know we've talked about them a lot. I was at the semifinal game against Eureka. I think that was my first time seeing them in person, and I was really impressed. I mean, that's a good team right there. And
Hmm.
I think they have a lot of girls coming back too. So yeah, should be really exciting to kind of see how they play going forward. But yeah, I mean, you were at that Marin Catholic championship game. Kind of same story though as the Montgomery Venetia game, right? Like kind of went cold late. It was a close game early, and then yeah,
Yeah, yeah. After, I mean, it was a point or two game after the first quarter, and then all of a sudden, Maria Carrillo scores 3 points in the second quarter, and luckily their defense held up, so Marine Catholic only scored 8. But then Marine Catholic went on a 22-7 run in the third quarter, and Maria Carrillo just cannot hit anything. They were getting solid looks. It just wasn't falling, and it
yeah,
happens in basketball, right? Sometimes your shots just aren't falling. In the second, third quarter, that's what happened with Carrillo. They pulled it back, got it back together in the fourth quarter, but obviously, I mean, they were down by like 23 at one point, so the lead
yeah,
was just too much to overcome. But like you said, hard emotional season for Carrillo. They're not done either. They're also going to go to
yeah.
NorCal's, which we'll talk about in a bit. Tough seating for them, but we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, I mean, for what the Creo girls have gone through, and going for their first section title in program history, making the section title game for the first time in program history,
Yeah.
I would still say that's a pretty big positive, especially as a two
100%.
seed. So.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, again, a great run for them. I'd say same thing too, as we're kind of moving on here, but all of these teams that we're mentioning right now too, all of them, all four of these teams. So the four teams that won section titles obviously go on the NorCals, and but then also the four teams that lost in section title games also go on the NorCals as well. So it's the championship, the runner-up, and then every section also has like one or two at-large bids as well. So we do have a couple teams as well that made the semifinals that will be going on as well. So but yeah, the Maria Carrillo boys soccer team too. I was at this game all the way out in Las Lomas. Carrillo, I believe, was the 5 seed, I want to say. And they had same thing. Really, really awesome run for them. Really dramatic win over 4 seeded Windsor. I think Windsor was up 1-0 in the last 10 minutes. Carrillo ties the game late, and then they get a golden goal winner like a few minutes into overtime. And then they hit the road and they upset number 1 seed Newark Memorial and PK's, like super dramatic game, a game that had already been rescheduled due to rain. So they had to, wait one more day to go out, to go and play this game, pull off the 5-1 upset on the road. But then, yeah, I mean, Las Lomas is, entered the game averaging like 3 goals a game. Carrillo boys soccer has had a really good defense, but I mean, Las Lomas just was unrelentless. I'd say, I mean, like they scored 3 goals in the first half and then kind of parked the bus a bit in the second half. And Carrillo had so many good looks too. I mean, Las Lomas or the only goal that Carrillo got was on an own goal from Las Lomas in the first half, but I think they had 2 or 3 awesome looks in the second half, and just like who's it, Mickey? I think his name's Mickey Serrer or something. I probably mispronounced that or didn't get it right, but the goalie for Las Lomas was just like lights out as well. So just
Hmm.
tough place to play. Las Lomas had a great crowd. Walnut Creek, it's pretty far drive too from Santa Rosa as well. So road games are always hard to win, especially championship games as well. So anyway, so again, great run for Carrillo boys soccer. Also kind of doing it with a coach who's not on the sideline, kind of in mind. We heard that Trevor Brady, their head coach, has been kind of away from the team, kind of dealing with some health issues. So, wishing him the best. He's been a great,
Yep.
a great supporter, for boys soccer around here, and just a good guy to, great guy to work with, and just a great person overall too. So, wishing Trevor the best. But I know that they were playing for sure, kind of with him in mind. So, but yeah, Korea boys soccer also going on the NorCals as well. Same thing with the Newman girls soccer team too. Runner up in the Division 3 section playoffs. Kind of the same thing, like a bit of a heartbreaker in the championship game. like, I mean, top seed, hadn't lost all season, and their first loss of the year comes in the NCSD 3 championship game against Miramonte, who I believe was it the sorry, yeah, Miramonte was the 1 seed, Newman
Yeah,
was
they
the
were the
2 seed. Yeah, Newman was the 2 seed, and Miramonte ends up winning in PKs. So first loss of the year for the Newman girls, but again, like, 11, 1-4 heading in the NorCals. It was kind of a funny season for them too, because like I think both of us had talked to their head coach John Gilson about this, where like they'd only played like 2 games in December, whereas most of their teams had like five
Mm-hmm.
or six or 7 or 8. It's because no teams would schedule them, which is like,
Yeah.
kind of a testament to how good they've been the last couple of years. Like no D4 teams wanted to, or yeah, no D3 or no D4 teams wanted to play them just because they're, probably better than a lot of those teams. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like same thing with like D1 or D2 teams. It's like, there's not much there's not much to gain from playing a smaller school team, even if they're, a good smaller school team. So, anyway, it's been again, very successful season for Newman girls soccer. The last couple years have been really good for them too. And again, still a young team. And I think they're going to be around for a couple more years as well. But, yeah, again, season's not done for them. NorCal's playing, NorCal's coming up this week. And yeah, I think that they might be in a good chance to, pull off a road upset here and then see what happens. But we'll see kind of going forward. But not the only couple teams, though. There are a few other ones that we should mention. A couple other notable finishes, but Cardinal Newman boys basketball, they're a super young team. They're, kind of super overachieving season this year. I think I mentioned earlier they got upset by St. Pat St. Vincent in the D2 quarterfinals. I was at that game. I've been joking with Keenan a little bit too. My track record for covering playoff games has been really not very good this year. So I think I'm like, well, what did I say I was? I'm like 3-6 or 2-7 or
Two
something
and
like that. So
five, two and something.
it's not great. So I'm sorry if I come to your playoff game. That might not be a good thing. So, but yeah, I was at that game. Just, I think a lot of people thought that, 2 seed might be a little high for Newman this year, and I think even Travis Taylor, their head coach, would agree. But they they earned it. I mean, they beat Montgomery.
Yep.
They played they beat everybody who was ahead of them essentially. Only 3 losses on the year heading into the playoffs, and 2 of those were to Monty, who was the number 1 seed in D2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think that they were probably a year away. They have a lot of, like they play 3, 4 underclassmen at times. I think they only have 2 seniors, and most of them don't really play a whole lot. So they're going to be back. They're going to be really good next year, really good the next couple years. But, I think this year was probably just like a bit of a learning experience for them, just kind of seeing what what the playoffs are like, playing bigger, stronger, faster teams. And that's what St. Pat's was this time around. So, um, anything you wanted to add on any of these two real quick? I mean, jump in if you have anything, you wanted to kind of throw in here too. But
Yeah, I was just going to take it back to Cardinal Newman girls soccer real
yeah,
fast. Kind of almost like a deja vu in a bad way, because they lost the NorCal championship last year on PKs.
there you go. Yeah,
But then again, they made the NorCal championship last year. So
yeah.
I would not be surprised if they like you said, get some upsets and make a deeper run in NorCal this year as well.
It's an experienced team. They know what they're doing for sure. So, speaking of experienced teams too, Casa Grande girls, bit of a surprise here. We thought that they won the NCSD2 championship last year, and this year they got upset by the number 4 seed Tamalpais in the semifinals. I don't double check real quick. I don't think Tamalpais went on to win, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna filibuster here for a little bit. Anyway, but it was Casa is still playing on. Oh yeah, there you go. Tamalpais did end up winning the D2 title, so I
Mm-hmm.
guess a bit of a consolation there for Casa. But I
Who
know it
did
was
who did they beat in the final? Was it
they beat
Branson?
Las Lomas actually
Oh,
too.
Las
So
Lomas.
yeah, that game happened right before the Korea game that I covered on Saturday. But yeah, it was again, bit of a probably disappointing finish for them. I know that they've been one of the premier girls soccer teams in the county for a couple years now, and I know going back to back would have been a huge thing for them too. And but again, bright side, season isn't over yet. I think they won. I think they have 16 or 17 or something like that wins. So it's been another great year for the Casa girls soccer team, and again, only set to continue because they still have a lot of young talent coming back as well. So, anything on that you wanna add on, or last couple things we can touch on here?
Yeah. I was just talking to head coach Vinny Cortezzo about that Tamalpais game, and I guess one of the I think it was what 2-1, 2-0.
I think it was, yeah.
Um, but one of Tam's goals was just an absolute golazo that no one in the area, let alone state, would have been able to
Hmm.
stop. Just an absolute rocket, and so yeah. But hey, I mean, Casa's not done. I mean, they are a very fun team to watch. They have the experience. They have great wins over teams like Branson this year.
Yeah.
So again, another upset or two and a solid run in NorCal's isn't out of the picture. So,
They have a
um,
tough road for sure. They got a tough draw for the
yes,
NorCals,
tough draw.
but if
But
there's
but
any,
anyways,
yeah, if there's ever a team though that could, that has experience to, pull off some big upsets, it could be Casa Girls. So,
mhm.
last couple of teams here we'll touch on, but the Montgomery girls basketball team, one of our favorite teams to cover this year, really, just tough luck loss in the D2 semifinal game. Northgate, number 6 seed, just kind of got hot late. They weren't, I think, Monty, I was at this game. Monty had like a 6 or 7 point lead, I want to say, at some point in the third quarter, started to go on a bit of a run, and then they just went ice cold again too. So just like kind of like the boys team did against Benicia. So just a tough end of the season for them. But yeah, Northgate was a bit of a Cinderella story as well. I mean, I think they kind of, Monty was the number 2 seed for the D2 playoffs, and kind of taking care of business up to that point. And but yeah, Northgate just kind of went on this pretty special run, and I think they lost in the D2 championships, but still one of those seasons that I'm sure those players we'll be talking about for some time. But kind of the end of a bit of an era for the Monty girls basketball team, though. I know that a lot of their top players will be graduating after this year, so um,
My trio.
they're gone, Keenan.
No,
Um,
my trio.
yeah, El Picard, Kylan DeVries is coming back though, but El Picard, Kaya Eubanks, and Emily Mathis is coming back too. So,
Oh, okay.
so a couple of them
She's
are,
been picking it up.
couple of them coming back too. So,
I,
yeah,
I will say funny little tidbit before you head on real fast, but Maria Carrillo they played Marin Catholic at Dominican University at like 5:30 p.m. I think it was on Friday, and if Montgomery had won, then they would have played right in the game after against Redwood, which would have been awesome. Having two Sonoma County teams playing
oh
in
yeah,
section titles back to back at the same venue. That would have been sweet. But
that'd be really cool.
anyways.
Maybe next year, But last one, but the Enley boys soccer team too. You were at the crazy PK game, maybe candidate for game of the year. That was the game that they beat number 6 seed Sonoma Valley, who had a great season in their own right too. But that was a wild game.
That was so. That was. I don't even know how you describe that game. That game was just. That game had everything and more. I mean, it was. I mean, it was. Oh my gosh! it's just. Oh my gosh! It was. I mean, both
You
teams
didn't.
were. I
That
mean,
game
both.
started at what, 7 o'clock, and you can get home to like 11 or something.
Yeah, exactly. The game started at 7, didn't end till like 9:30, 10ish. So then I didn't ended up not getting home till maybe like 10:30, because it went into PKs. And throwing it back a little bit to one of our previous episodes, we kind of talked about how we thought that some of the Vival boys soccer teams were a little underseeded, and
Yeah,
Sonoma Valley was for sure one of those teams.
yeah,
I mean, this was not a 3-6 matchup. This was more of could have been a 2-3 or 3-4 matchup. It was that good. And hey, both teams had. I mean, Sonoma Valley had a lot of chances to win it. As did Annalee. There were just these crazy. Oh my God, crazy calls all over the place. There was a. Sonoma Annalee thought they had won it in on golden goal in overtime, but before the ball crossed the goal line, a foul was called on the goalkeeper, so that took the goal away,
wow.
and it was still tied 2-2. And then we just went into penalty kicks, and oh my gosh, it was oh my goodness. I mean, but regardless, that was a crazy game. But then I know Gus, Annalee lost. I think it was Piedmont they got upset by.
No, it was Archie Williams who
Archie
yeah.
Williams, excuse me.
We came very close to that Anley Ukiah rematch, which those are the two best teams in the NBL Redwood. And shout out to the NBL Redwood boys soccer team showing out. I mean,
Yeah.
the top two teams being semifinalists, or one being a champion, one being semifinalist in D3. But yeah, Archie was what was the team they lost to? But yeah, I mean the Marin teams always really good in soccer.
Oh, always, always. But I will say the one thing that the Annalee team possesses that a lot of Annalee's a big team. Like they have some height on that team for sure.
Yeah.
Which definitely helps them. But yeah, unfortunate end to Annalee for Annalee. But like you said, shout out to the NBL Redwood, and also shout out to the VVAL as well. I mean the VVAL soccer this year on both guys and girls sides have really picked it up. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we already knew about the NBL Oak, but anyways.
I was gonna say, I mean, NBL Redwood, we have one section or two section or so the NBL, so the Oak and the Redwood, we have Ukiah, NBL Redwood, section title winner. Cumberland Boys, NBL Oak, section title winner. Carrillo Boys, NBL Oak, section runner up. Annalee, NBL Redwood, section semifinalist. So like, it's a pretty damn good year, I'd say, for boys soccer here in the area, especially from the
Yeah,
NBL. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Last, but yeah, no, like you said though, Anley, upset at their place by number 7 Archie Williams, who then again, was shut out by Ukiah for the section championship. But yeah, I mean, it's for all of those teams that we just talked about too, it's like I think all of them were 2, 3, 2 or 3 seeds that just came up just this short. And only one of them is playing on in a NorCal's, and that's the Casa girls soccer team. Just getting in as I think the only at-large bid, I'd say, from the NCS. So yeah,
Mm.
but just really kind of, I know it's there's always teams that go home in heartbreak this time of year, and just great seasons for all of these teams, but yeah, I mean just a tough way to end it, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's crazy to say that out of all the teams that we just listed, only one of them is going on at NorCal. So
I know, I
it's
know.
insane.
Some of these teams I think were probably deserving of moving on, and I mean again that's a whole other that's a whole other debate for the competitive equity side of things here too. But yeah, I mean I don't know how you can look at some of these teams and be like, yeah, they don't deserve to play in a state playoff game, but I don't know. It's also one of these things where there have to be not everybody can make the state playoffs, and there unfortunately have to be some teams that don't make it in. And if you underperform, I'd say in the section playoffs, then you're probably going to be left out. So is
Totally.
what it is what it is. But great seasons for all those teams that we just mentioned. But Canada was also a great year for wrestling in the area. One of the better years that
Yes,
we've
it
had in
was.
some time. You were tracking the state wrestling tournament very closely down in the Central Valley, but 16 wrestlers made it, most of a long time from around here. But yeah, how did people kind of shake out for the local standouts?
Man, so let me just preface this by saying, so for to get into the state tournament, right? It depends on the guys and girls, right? So the guys are the guys only the section are only allowed to send the top 2 wrestlers in each weight class, which is basically
And the year before it was 3, right?
no. So I got corrected on that. So last
Okay,
year was the first year that they sent 2,
got it.
but with that being said, they also incorporated the true second place match, which means if you lost the championship match and you have not wrestled the third place wrestler yet, then you will wrestle them for a true second for a
Got it.
shot at the state title. That is how Ed Burnsich last year made it at 195 pounds. He won his true second place match because he won the consolation and then beat the championship match loser in a true second place match. So,
Got it.
anyways, girls is top 4 to go to state. So in total there were 7 guys that went, 9 girls that went, and some pretty solid seeds. I know Joe Ellis of Vintage was the 13 seed at 215. Logan Bruce was the 12 seed. I'll talk about him in a bit. Noel Alexander was the 5th seed at 135 in the girls bracket. And let me just preface by saying not a lot of people did that well in their opening match.
A
It's, I
lot of
mean,
consolation bracket
be,
appearances.
yeah, well, yeah, a lot of consolation bracket. But the other thing you need to know about the state tournament for viewers and listeners is that they are all combined into one big division.
Yeah.
It's not separated into different divisions. It's all combined, one big mess. One just
So
whoever's the
all the
best is the
teams,
best,
so all the
right?
powerhouses from the Central Valley, which produce some of the
Exactly.
top teams in the country, like Buchanan, Clovis.
Exactly.
A lot of those teams are some of the best in the entire, like the nation. Well, they're wrestling against
Exactly.
us
Exactly.
people up here from
But
Central Valley.
Exactly, but the good thing is it is double elimination basically.
Mm.
So if you lose your opening match or whatever, you go down to you. If you lose a match, you go down to consolation automatically, no matter how far you are in the championship matches. You just keep dropping down into a higher consolation match, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, not I mean a lot of people were in consolation, but hey, they were a lot of people that won at least one may or one, two, three consolation matches.
Yep.
That people didn't expect them to win. There was the St. Helena duo of Piper Pike and Carla Hernandez. I know Anna Carla, she won her first opening consolation match. Ed Burnsic at heavyweight just ran through his like first two or three before ended up losing in a heartbreaker to I forget what seed it was, to a top seed. It was like in four overtimes too, which basically is sudden victory. So next point wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, so day two is the bloodbath. Day two is the most rigorous day. Day two you see everyone kind of fall, not fall, but it's true test of everyone's mettle. Day two. So to get out of day two and to go into day three with a chance at placing, that is a super successful tournament. And we had three wrestlers heading on into day three, all in the consolation bracket. Ayana Bean of American Canyon, who's only a sophomore, she had a heck of a tournament. Um, she wrestles in the 235-pound bracket on the girls' side. Noelle Alexander, the fifth seed at 135 pounds out of Maria Carrillo. She she had another chance to. She also had a chance to win her first opening consolation match on the third day place, and then obviously, like I said, Logan Bruce, the 12th seed at 175 pounds, he had maybe the toughest uh, opening consolation match to place, and let's just run through them real fast. So Ayana Bean, obviously, she had to wrestle the 3 seed, which is tough to do, especially in a consolation bracket. She ended up losing. But like I said, she's only a sophomore, so she'll hopefully be back down in Bakersfield or wherever the state tournament may be. It depends. I'm pretty sure it's still going to be in Bakersfield. Um, Logan Bruce ended up was down 5-0 in late in the third period, and then with about 20 seconds left, he ended up pinning the number 7 seed to guarantee him a place on the podium. And for some people, that might just be like, oh, it's just it's people look at the brackets, be like, okay, he
Seventh
moved on,
place,
he moved it.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So like, yeah, people look at the brackets, be like, yeah, whatever. He moves on, whatever. But for a wrestler to guarantee a spot at a place and the top 8 at
Yeah.
state is enormous. No
Huge.
matter
Huge.
what place you get. So even though Bruce ended up losing his next match, I believe it was to the 6th seed by majority decision, his place on the podium was booked. It just can't. It just had to come down to what place he would get. He ended up placing a 7th, I believe. And Noelle Alexander, the 5th seed, wrestled the 7th seed to open her consolation day on day three. She wrestled the 7th seed, who she had already beaten twice this year, both in overtime. She was down 1-0 early on, had to come back and get the match winning escape to move on. And then she was down in her following match to the 8th seed. She was down 6-0 after the first period, ended up clawing back to make it 6-6, and then she ended up pinning this girl with like 30 seconds to go. So she's and Noelle's a senior. She might be one of the most improved wrestlers we have this year, but so her place was booked after the first match win, but she wanted to keep going. So then after that, she wrestled the top seed who ended up losing in the championship brackets. She ended up wrestling the top seed who had to drop down to consolations, and she was up 3-2 on the top seed with 2 seconds to go before the top seed, her name I believe is Kayla Edwards out of Rancho Buena Vista, ended up getting the match-winning takedown and moved
Mm.
on to the third place match.
Wow.
So Noelle could have been wrestling for third place, and third place it states, oh
Huge.
my gosh. No,
Yeah.
I don't remember what I can't remember the last time that's really happened. So Noelle ended up finishing sixth at the state championship. They become the first two Maria Carrillo wrestlers to place at the state championships at the same time.
Yeah.
Carrillo has had state placers before individually throughout different years, but for two wrestlers to place at the same tournament, that is never done before in Maria Carrillo history. So credit to Carrillo, credit to head coach Tim Bruce, credit to Logan, Noel, but credit to all the wrestlers, considering that a lot of them are headed to state this year are non-seniors. So I mean,
Huge.
I know Devin and Jonah Bertoli, the Cardinal Newman
Sophomores.
duo, only sophomores, right?
Yeah.
You know, Bean, she's a sophomore. Logan Bruce is a junior. He'll be back. You know, so this just makes me so excited for next year already, and how good we could be individually as an area, because this area does get overlooked on the wrestling
Sure.
scope. So, Gus, just I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit here, but
No,
Gus,
it's great.
just an absolutely successful year on the wrestling mat for area teams, which include Mendocino, Napa, and Sonoma counties. Mendocino being Ukiah, obviously, but yeah, just a fantastic wrestling year for area wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider too in California, like there are thousands of high school wrestlers in every weight division. Every weight
Yeah,
division, there are thousands of kids. So to
yeah,
say that you are one of the 8 best in the entire state, I mean, that's what these kids are like. That's why this is such an amazing accomplishment. I mean, I mean, even again in the top 100, top 50, top 20, whatever, is incredible. But to
yeah.
be, top 8 in the entire state, yeah, I mean, that's something that you'll always remember. And it's just a very, very cool accomplishment for all these
And
kids.
and Gus, I know you've done a good job at following like the rankings each week and where kids are rankings. It's like, look, seeding rankings when it comes to state tournament, all of that,
Throw it out the window.
either you're top eight or you're not. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, yeah, it was just awesome to have so many great individuals on the wrestling mat this year, and I think it's only going up from here. So,
Yeah.
congratulations to all the wrestlers, congratulations to all the wrestling teams this year. Great showing out. But yeah, on to next year.
I know. Yeah, that actually, I mean, there it is. I mean, like, good way to kind of wrap it up because wrestling season is now in the books. So, our first winter sports season is now wrapped up. And again, we could have a couple more, basketball, soccer could be winding down here too this week. So, um, jumping into our kind of our last couple segments here, but talking about the NorCal playoffs for basketball and soccer. So again, we've kind of touched on a lot of this stuff already,
Yep.
but let's just kind of dive into all the nitty gritty details and stuff. So we have 12 teams that made it, 7 in basketball, 5 in soccer. Um, I think we'll start with the girls basketball side of things first. We have 4 girls basketball teams who made it. Obviously, we're going to start with the Cardinal Newman girls basketball team. Again, a bit of a surprise getting the number 4 seed. So the seeding meeting was Sunday afternoon. I think a lot of people had kind of I mean I had predicted, I'm like, all right, after they beat San Ramon Valley, I was thinking, all right, like I think that's a pretty clear like. I kind of thought that Newman would be the number 3 seed. Now again, yeah, the big wild card, of course, is what is the CIF section or C seeding committee going to do with some of the Central Coast or the Central section teams, like your Clovis Wests and stuff. Clovis West has been a top 10 or top the 10 plus up the top 10 and up team in the state all season. But what the CIF does is they kind of make a decision about if they want to put them in the southern section or if they want to put them in the northern section or in the NorCal's or SoCal playoffs. Well, they decided to pull Clovis West up to NorCal's this year, which bumped Newman down a spot. So Newman is the number 4 seed. They're going to be hosting number 5 seed Folsom on Wednesday in the first round of the Open Division playoffs, or of the Open Division NorCal playoffs. Newman and Folsom have played each other already once this year. That was at a tournament showcase game at St. Mary's back in January. That was actually also Tissa's debut. I think she scored Newman won by 8. I think Tissa scored the final 8 points of the game. It was like kind of her coming out party, like she's arrived already. Then that game has really kind of propelled, has kind of jumped Newman up a level, I'd say, and as far as rankings and like national standings and stuff. So so that's going to be the first round game. The yeah, I mean, this is we've talked about this, I think since the seedings came out, but winner of this game gets the honor of traveling down to San Jose and playing the national number 1 team, Archbishop Mitty. Kind of disappointing a little bit for us, just because I think a lot of people looked at Newman and Mitty, especially Newman with Tissa, as kind of being the 2 top teams in Northern California. So for Newman to get the 4 seed and potentially have to face Mitty in the second round really takes away a chance that those 2 teams could have faced in the championship game, which would have been probably the biggest girls basketball game in Sonoma County history. Now instead, again, we do have a better chance of getting a Newman Mitty matchup in the semifinals if Newman can beat Folsom again on Wednesday. But yeah, I know that we were definitely looking forward to a potential Mitty Newman matchup in that NorCal title game. But yeah, just an interesting getting the 4 seed. But what did you think about that too? Because I know that's been something. I mean, you've been covering this whole Newman run, talking to people around Newman. I think a lot of people were thinking 2, 3 seed maybe, but again, it's always Clovis West has kind of been the big question mark.
Yeah, Clovis threw everything into chaos. No doubt about it, and obviously Folsom losing the St. Mary's didn't help Newman in possibly getting a higher seed as well. I mean, it's we say this every week, every time we have a podcast, Gus. But this is why we want to be like flies on the wall in these damn committee meetings, because we really want to know what the reason is. Although I will say, Darren Savaggio over the Mercury put out a great article talking to a CIF official about why the decisions were made, which is a pretty good read. And answers not all the questions, obviously.
Couple questions, yeah.
A couple questions, but yeah, my first guess would have been that they would have put Newman and Mitty in their separate brackets, and hopefully, if all the cards fell right, have them play in the regional championship game. But like I said, Clovis West got pulled up, and it is what it is. But I think this just shows that the committee is making Newman earn it. Earn it for sure. I mean, and I think if Newman and Mitty do end up playing in the second round, that might be the most anticipated game maybe of the regional championships.
Yeah, that's a good game.
So yeah, I mean I'm not gonna lie if I think that Newman got seated low, but the Open is such a gauntlet that who knows what could happen. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on it. But I do think that this Newman team, although I don't think that they played their best. I mean, they didn't clearly they didn't have to because they won, but I don't think they even played their best against San Ramon Valley, which by the way, taking it back real fast, there was a whole nother question mark as to who would have gotten the number 1 and number 2 seed in the NCS, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of with the same discussion here, but yeah, I really think Newman. I think Newman, when they're at their best, could give anyone a run. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. I'll be there tomorrow on Wednesday to follow Newman Folsom. So that should be a good one.
Yeah, and it's and this is also not to say that that St. Mary Stockton or Clovis West are not deserving of the 2 and the 3 seeds too. I mean,
No, 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 no.
St. Mary Stockton was the second section Division 1 champion. They also beat Newman early in the season. They also beat San Ramon Valley. They beat Acalanes. They beat Whitney. They actually beat Acalanes twice. Anyway, so like all of these teams again are the best girls basketball teams in the state, or among the best girls basketball teams in the state.
Yeah.
Again, Midi is the #1 team in the nation right now. And there again has been lots of discussion about if they're the best team ever in Bay Area history, which is a pretty wild conversation to have. That being said, too, I know that they're not completely healthy right now. Morgan Shelley, who's their UConn commit, big forward for them, one of the best players in the state. Shoot, one of the best players in the country, has been kind of banged up. I don't think she played in the Central Section Open Division Championship game, but again, Midi is insanely loaded. I mean, they have Morgan Wolitzko, they have so many players. McKenna. Sorry, I knew it was an M name. McKenna Wolitzko, and then they have like 3 or 4 other Division 1 or future Division 1 commits and stuff. So just so much talent. But I mean, again, this is one of the this is one of these things where it's like we just want to see this matchup. We just want to see a Newman Midi matchup. Hey, if Newman's hitting their shots, if Kate Chalk gets hot, if Tiss is balling out, if Newman or if Midi has an off shooting night, who knows? Stranger things have happened, but I do think it does probably need to be a bit of a perfect storm for Newman, I think, to get past Midi, but we will see. This is why they play the games too. So, and then also too, I think that I saw this discussion too online about kind of looking at the rankings and stuff and seeing kind of how the seating committee looks into or creates these brackets. And I'm pretty sure too that I know for the North Coast section, and I don't know, I would imagine it's probably the same for the CIF. The who's on the seating committees is not public information. Like it's all kind of kept under wraps. People don't want, I think the section does that not because they don't want transparency, but I know that people kind of complain about that, but just because they don't want, outside, teams and boosters and whoever trying to influence the, these people on the seatings committee, to put their team higher, to put another team higher or something like that. So they keep it all kind of under wraps, but yeah, I saw this point though, which was like, how do you get what are they looking at? Are they looking at like a power ranking, which is more so like how good is a team right now versus a whole body of evidence, because like we said, St. Mary Stockton beat Cardinal Newman, early in the season, beat him by 8. Well, that was before, Tissa was playing, which I think now, I don't know. I mean, I think in that matchup, I think Newman might be the better team right now, so but again, it's like, we still have to play the games and we still have to, see how all this shakes out. But yeah, 4th seed I did think was pretty low, but again, it's the Clovis West aspect of this that kind of throws everything into a loop. So, anything else on that before? I mean, that was like 10 minutes on just
yeah. Well, so but that one was that. I mean, but
that is the biggest game for sure. Biggest game for sure. Yes, I agree. All right, so the other girls basketball teams, so we have Maria Carrillo in Division 2, Justin Stan in Division 3, and then Rio Lindo Adventist Academy in Division 6. So quick note on Division 6, Division 6 only plays a NorCal regional playoff. They do not go on to a state playoff, so it's just 8 teams in a smaller bracket. So starting with Maria Carrillo, though, again, runners-up in the NCS Division 3. Tough draw for them. They get the 9 seed, and they're playing at number 8 Monte Vista out of San Jose. Monte Vista was the Central Section Division 2 champions. And I just say, it's a tough draw because this is again, like not every team is going to get a good, seeding. And especially too when it comes to NorCals and stuff, it's like there's always going to be teams who are unhappy and stuff. But like, I don't know, it is just tough. Like, you have one of your best seasons in school history, you go to your first ever section title game, and then you have to hit the road for NorCals. And if you win, then you're still playing on the road at the #1 seed, which is Brenham. So anyway, just a tough draw for Carrillo. But again, this is a really good team. They're battle tested. Like, I mean, outside of Newman, they played the hardest schedule, I'd say, in the entire area. I mean, so many, teams in the in the state rankings that, that they played against this year. So, and again, that's all those games really kind of, they start to pay off this time of year where you're playing better competition and you're more well prepared and well equipped for that. So, yeah, I do think Carrillo probably has a good chance to be that 9-8 upset if you want to even really call it an upset. But yeah, just a tough draw for them to have to hit the road in the first round. So we'll see how that game plays out tonight. Justin Siena, kind of a similar thing with them. So the way also that like how this works is the in divisions 1 through 3, those are the only teams that can get pulled up into the open division in the North Coast section. Now, so that means that the only teams that will advance to NorCals for basketball will be the however many teams, all the teams that make it into the open division will automatically qualify for NorCals. And then it's in divisions 4 through 6, which don't get any teams pulled up for NorCals, it's always going to be the 4 semifinalist teams. So that's why there's going to be more small school teams that make it in, or I guess it's the same amount. I guess it all kind of evens out. But
Yeah.
but the semifinalists, like Justin Siena, who we're about to talk about, they were the semifinalists in the Division 4, I believe it was, North Coast section playoffs. But again, because they're in Division 4, they qualified for NorCal. So now that being said, tough draw for them as well. Number 15 seed in the Division 3 playoffs. Long road trip coming up tonight. I bet they're already on. I bet they're already down there right now. But they have to play at Central, which is all the way down in Fresno. And then again, too, this is where the competitive equity side of things can start to make some people upset, because Central from Fresno was a semifinalist in the Division 1 semifinal, or in the Central section Division 1 playoffs. Let's just check how many students Central High School in Fresno has, because I think Justin Siena has made 500, 600, I want to say.
Yeah.
Something like that. This is some really good podcasting, because I'm going to be doing this right as we're recording. I should have done this beforehand, but Central High in Fresno has 2,300 students.
Oh boy. Hey, I think we've seen this story before, haven't we, Gus?
Yeah, we have, exactly. So, exactly. I mean, that's, again, we've said it before. We'll say it again. St. Vincent Palo Alto, 200 versus 2,000. The School of 201. So, I mean, again, this is the two-sided coin with competitive equity, right? It's like, it has eliminated more of the blowouts. It has made games and playoffs and brackets more competitive. But, then you also get, these quote unquote mismatches on paper of a 2,000 person school playing a 500 person school. So we'll see how that one shakes out. But again, Justin Siena has the 15 seed at number 2 seed Central tonight. Going to be a tough game for Justin, especially, again, long road trip, big school. Going to be tough. So we'll see how that one shakes out. But and then same thing with Rio Lindo Adventist, semifinalist in the NCS Division 6 playoffs as the 2 seed, and they have to make a long road trip the other way, heading up north up to Weed. And Weed was the Northern Section Division 6 champion. So again, small schools both playing each other. We'll kind of see how that shakes out. But I know that the Weed boys team, I saw some people complaining about that too. I think they were same thing. Like they have a school of like 300, maybe something like a small school. And I believe the boys team won their section championship, and now they're going to be playing against, so I think they got pulled up to a much higher division, like Division 3 or something. And so they're playing some just, schools that are 5-6 times bigger than they are. So, yeah, I mean, again, this is the competitive equity system well at work here. So, anything on the girls games you want to talk about or mention real quick before we move on to the boys?
No, I think you covered it all pretty well. We can head on to the boys here. Montgomery, we got Montgomery, Justin Siena, and Napa Christian are the 3 boys representatives for us. We'll start with obviously Gus Monty. Losing the section title game gives them the number 12 seed in Division 2. They go to Bellarmine, which holds a record of 10-17, but are seeded number 5. But the Bells made the CCS Open playoffs, but went 0-3 in pool play. So who the heck knows about this matchup? Because I have no idea.
I've heard from a few people, and I've seen a couple other posts about how this has definitely some 12-5 upset potential. Like people think Montgomery probably should be the favored team in this game. Bellarmine. Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned too, they were pulled up to the CCS Open division for, playoffs. Didn't really have a great showing, 0-3. I mean, again, there's some good teams in the Central Section Open division playoffs too, so no fault in doing that. But like, yeah, I mean, a 10-17 team hosting a first round game versus a section semifinalist. I don't know. Just seems a little backwards to me a little bit, but
So I mean, if they went 0-3, 0-3 and so they were 10-14, and they got pulled up to the CCS Open.
they do play in the WCal, which is the
Oh, the WCAL. Oh, that's right. I forgot they're in
Archbishop
WCAL. Okay,
Reardon,
there you go.
Nitty, basically all of the best teams in the Bay Area play in that league essentially. So it's yeah, I mean again, I think that's where the strength of schedule thing really plays a huge factor there too. So
But who
um,
the heck knows, man?
yeah.
This game is honestly kind of a toss up. I mean,
There's a lot
he,
again. I think a lot of people think that Montgomery should be the favorite team in this game, and I might agree. I think Caden Reeves will probably be the best player on the floor in this game. But I do think it's just a matter of like again against Benicia, like the supporting cast didn't really do a whole lot. So I think that if they have a couple of guys step up and contribute tonight, then I think that they probably should win in advance. And if they do, probably playing against Bishop O'Dowd. But if Los Gatos can pull the upset, then they get a home game, which would be awesome. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I do think that out of all the teams, like out of all the upset potential, I think that we have in the first round, I think that Montgomery uh, probably should be considered. I guess the most likely chance to pull an upset, I'd say.
yeah. All right. We kind of talked about this briefly before, but obviously Justin Siena gets the number 2 seed in Division 3. They are hosting number 15, Ripon,
I think it's
Ripon, Ripon
Yeah.
Christian, 24-6. Ripon Christian won the San Joaquin section D5 title. They get pulled up to D3. Justin Siena gets pulled up to D3 after a D4 win. Justin Siena, they've had some pretty good success in NorCals over the last couple of years. No doubt about that. And this could be another team. I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders right now. Playing pretty good ball. The number 1 seed in the NorCal is Santa Cruz. There looks like Justin Siena are going to be hosting pretty much all the way through, unless it's a regional final site that is neutral. Justin Siena, Gus, unless they get upset, could make a deep run here in D3.
Yeah, and so quick note too, so Justin Siena is the 2 seed. Santa Cruz did beat Justin Siena head to head earlier this year, so I think that's probably why Santa Cruz got the 1 and Justin got the 2. So that would make the most sense to me. But yeah, I mean, again, we were talking about this before we recorded, and trying to like schedule out our coverage plan this week. But yeah, we're looking at Justin as probably having the best chance to make a pretty deep run here. I mean, again, 2 seed, you're going to be hosting almost the entire way until regional championship game, and I would be surprised if they faltered. I think before then. I mean, they've won. What are they right now? 15-game winning streak. I mean, they haven't lost since losing the Sacred Heart Prep back at the first week of January. So, I mean, Justin kind of is playing some of their best ball right now, I'd say. And I mean, I think they like kind of funny to say, but I think they proved some doubters wrong, beating Ignacio Valley. I think a lot of people picked that as like a favorite or a popular, upset pick in the NCS D4 championship, just because like Ignacio Valley plays tougher league, has played a tougher schedule. Justin wasn't tested a whole lot, I'd say, in VVAL play. So for them to kind of silence all those haters, I guess, and come away with their first section title ever, actually, I think too, for boys basketball. I think they're primed and ready for a deep run here. So it should be fun to kind of see how deep they can go.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you. Last one up here, Gus, you mentioned it earlier. Napa Christian gets the number 6 seed in D6. They travel to number 3, Biggs. Biggs is the Northern Section Division 6 champs. They are out of Biggs, California. So it's its own town. It's its own town. It's its own high school. So Yeah, not too much about known about Napa Christian. Obviously, they went 5-0 in league. They're 12-10. Um, they what did they do? They lost to Cornerstone Christian is actually the top seed in this bracket. And they ended up losing to them in the semifinals of the Division 6 NCS championships. So you never know, Gus. I mean, you never know with these small schools. I'm telling you, you never know what could happen. Who knows? Napa Christian could go on a little bit of a run here. Like you said, it's only NorCal's. It's not state, so not as big of a run to be made, right? Not as many games to be played, but nonetheless, who knows?
Yeah, it is funny because the so Napa Christian. So just to kind of to give a little bit more insight into Napa Christian and who they are and what their program is. So Napa Christian is the same school that is associated with Prolific Prep, which is the national powerhouse prep basketball program that is based out of Napa. They've produced number of NBA guys, dozens of Division One players. So Napa Christian is the school that they're affiliated with. So Napa Christian's basketball team kind of serves as a bit of a JV program for Prolific Prep. So I believe they have a 7-footer on their team. They have a kid who, based on Max Preps, is averaging 37 points a game. So they have you see Napa Christian Division 6, small school, and you're thinking, okay, not much to that. Well, there's a bit more to that than meets the eye. So um yeah, I mean, again, I don't know much about Cornerstone Christian, or I don't know much about again how uh how things kind of shook out, I guess, in the Division 6 NCS playoffs. But just knowing that an Napa Christian team is, again, essentially a JV Prolific Prep program of all these kids who are trying to work up through it to Prolific Prep, which only takes some of the best players in the entire country. Yeah, I think Napa Christian probably has, again, there is some upset potential there, I'd say, for them as well. So we'll see how it goes. But like you said, small school teams always a crapshoot. So we'll kind of see how things shake out there too. But yeah, just a little insight on Napa Christian there a little bit. So um,
um,
moving over to soccer. Yeah, quickly on to
yeah. Oh,
soccer, and
no,
then
no, no. Yeah. Go for it.
all right. So we have 5 teams that made the cut in soccer: 3 boys teams, 2 girls teams. Starting with Maria Carrillo, again, runners up in the NCS Division 2. Tough draw for them. Number 7 seed in Division 2 for NorCal's. They're playing at Burlingame tonight. Burlingame was the Central Coast Section Division 1 runners up. Tough draw for Carrillo. I, again, don't know a whole lot about these teams come NorCal time, just outside of our coverage area, not really stuff that we have time to pay much attention to. But 7 seed, just tough. You've got to go on the road. I do wonder if they had won, if they had, what that would have done, because like if they had won, would they have, they probably would have, I guess, been a top 4 seed in D2. I don't know. I don't know how that kind of works. Yeah, just a tough draw for Carrillo. Again, I think that that they played really well in the North Coast Section playoffs up until I think that last Lomas championship game. So again,
Hmm.
they have the potential to do some special stuff. And yeah, I think come NorCal's too. I know that too, when you look at some of these seedings, you see a 7 versus a 2, or you see a 8 versus a 1. They're not as uh, there's less of a discrepancy between those than you might actually,
Yeah,
than
totally,
might
totally.
actually, then you might think, like, this is not this is not an 8 seed beating a 1 seed in like the NCAA tournament. This is essentially, because the way that the North Coast, that the NorCal playoffs work is, and we've talked about this repeatedly, is outside of the Open Division or Division 1, they seed everything in kind of descending order. So
Yeah.
essentially, this is, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but like, in the state rankings, quote unquote, Burlingame is only 5 spots higher than Maria Correa. you know
Mm.
so it's saying that this is a huge, it would be a huge upset. I mean, 7-on-2 on paper for sure, but when you look at the grand scheme of things as the actual rankings, might not be the biggest upset ever. So
Yeah.
that being said, it's like, seven, a team in Korea beating a spot 5, 5 spots ahead of them, absolutely doable. So and then I think goes for everybody, in the state playoffs right now is NorCal. You're playing against more competitive teams. You're playing against teams that are more, at your skill level. So even if you're seated, lower and you have to hit the road, there's probably more of a chance for upsets too here. So,
Good point.
yeah. So Korea, yeah. I mean, just want to get that point out of the way too. But the other thing, so Ukiah, the other team that we'll talk about here too. Again, their awesome, historic run to the NCS Division III title. They have earned the number 2 seed in the NorCal's Division III, and they're hosting Chico tonight. Again, I'm heading up to that game. Chico was the Northern Section Division I runners up. Yeah, again, like we kind of thought about Justin Santa boys here too. I think the Ukiah boys probably, could be in line to win a game or two and, make a bit of a run here. So excited to kind of see how things play out tonight. And, hopefully, they'll be playing on Thursday. So, and then also Cardinal Newman boys too. Again, division, NCS Division IV winners, and they got to hit the road for the first round. Playing at number 3 Hollister. Now again, Hollister, Central Coast Section Division II champs. This is what's always hard about the seeding, is when you have 2 section champs. Obviously, they're in different divisions. But how do you, I don't know, how do you decide who's going on the road and who's not, And so this is the thing, is there's always going to be a team that gets the short end of the stick. And someone pointed out that it does kind of seem to be the North Coast section small school teams that tend to get punished the most. So it does seem to play out that way.
No,
So
I've heard that too.
So I'd say Newman. I mean, but again, you look at the 6 and the 3, and you're thinking, oh my God, that sucks. But again, only a 3-spot difference in the state rankings between those two teams. So, and again, Newman's won 20 games. They're having a historically great season. They have, a boatload of talent. This is a team that I think absolutely could be a dark horse in that Division III playoffs as well. So it could be fun. Could be fun to kind of see how those two teams play out going forward. Anything that you wanted to touch on with the boys brackets real quick before we head into the girls?
No. You explained it perfectly, Gus. So I'm so proud of you. Anyways, let's
a fun note too about the Ukiah and Newman. If both those teams win, semifinal matchup there too. So
cool. There you go. Exactly. All right, let's head over to the girls. We got two representatives. Casa Grande. Tough draw here, no doubt about it. But then again, seven spots in the state rankings, 7-spot difference in state rankings. Casa Grande gets the number 8 seed in Division II. They will be on the road, or either on the road right now or close to it, I think. They will take on number 1 St. Francis out of Sacramento, who is 24-3. St. Francis is the Sac-Joaquin Section Division II champions. Obviously, if Casa Grande had made it all the way to the section title game and won, who would have known where they would have gotten placed? But they are certainly one of those at-large bids, despite going out in the semifinals because of their high seed in the section, being that top seed. So they have their hands full, no doubt about it. Cardinal Newman, little bit of a surprise, I would say, that they're not as high as they are. They are the 7 seed heading to number 2. Los Gatos down in Division III. The Los Gatos is 13-6-4. They are the CCS D3 champs. Yeah, I mean, the seeding can be so unpredictable at times. We're not really sure where teams will actually end up. Like Gus tweeted out after Newman girls beat San Ramon Valley, what he what he thought, what he predicted they would fall at, and we could have our predictions all day long, but we never know. So Gus, yeah, tough road assignments for Casa Grande and Cardinal Newman, but again, kind of like the boys, there could be some upset potential there.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, again, I think the point stands that these teams are not as separate as their rankings might indicate. I mean, again, 8-1, on paper seems like a massive mismatch, but again, only really 7 spots, separating these two teams in the state rankings. So yeah, I mean, again, I think there's upset potential for all these teams here. But I gotta say though, I guess I'm a bit surprised that we didn't have I think more girls soccer teams that advanced to to NorCal's, but I think that's
Me
just
too.
because of, again, the section playoffs. But girls soccer is always really good around here. Maybe it was a little more top heavy this year, than it has been in the past. I mean, again, Casa and Newman have kind of been those top two teams. But like, Sonoma Academy girls had a deep run in the NCSD4 playoffs. But again, just came up just one win short of, I guess, securing a NorCal bid too. But yeah, I mean, again, for all these teams though, I mean, like, to still be playing basically, into late February, potentially into early March, not very many teams can say that, they've, played seasons this long. So regardless of whatever happens this week, I do think it's always something to celebrate, when you even, just make the cut for NorCal. So,
Yep.
yeah, I don't really have too much else to add kind of about, kind of about the girls games here, but um, yeah, I mean, we still have winter sports here going on here in the last couple of days of February, and yeah, we're definitely excited to kind of cover it all and yeah, bring it all your way here. So
Yep,
yeah,
spring sports just getting started as well too. Gonna be looking out for some previews and stuff coming in the next week or two, as well for some of our softball and baseball teams. Still, a lot of talent brought back this year, for on the baseball and softball fields. Yeah, that as well. But like I said, winter season, it's not over yet.
not
Not
quite.
over yet.
Last kind of thing before we send everyone on their way, but yeah, I guess a little talk about kind of competitive equity and how all this stuff works, because this is the model that the North Coast section is going to be adopting for the playoffs next year, for the section playoffs next year, which I know was a bit of kind of caused a bit of a stir, maybe a bit of controversy, just like, it's a very I'd say polarizing kind of term and kind of and model. But again, like I feel like we've talked about this kind of at length, I guess, over the last couple of months, just kind of with, St. Vincent making their state run, and then, and then again, with the NCS kind of, moving to adopt this as well. And, and again, we're kind of back to this point, having this debate here. And, I there's been a lot of like kind of back and forth about this online, and like in the kind of prep sports circles around here, and a lot of people are kind of upset about certain seedings, and there are some that are rightfully should be upset. I mean, like,
Yep.
so we mentioned, like, lost, or Korea lost to Los Alamos in the NCSD2 title game. Well, Los Alamos got the 6th seed for NorCal's and has to hit the road. So and then also, like, in boys basketball, like Doherty Valley, won, I believe it was the NCS Division 1 playoffs, and they got the
Yep.
15 or 14 seed in the in NorCal's for D1 or D2. I forgot what it was. I think it was D1. Same thing with Vanden. Vanden boys basketball won, I think it was Sac Joaquin Division 1 or Division 2 title. And they got like the 15 seed, for, in their bracket for NorCal. So this is the thing I kind of come back to, is like, competitive equity has worked for what it intended to do. The intent of it was trying to eliminate some of the lopsided, blowouts, and the uncompetitive kind of brackets and stuff. And I think we talked about this, in the pod a couple weeks ago, when the NCS, approved the move to this, to adopt more of a competitive equity based playoff model starting next year. Like, there was all that data that the Mercury News compiled from the football playoffs over the last couple of years, and by all accounts, the CCS playoffs which use a straight competitive equity model, are much more competitive. There are fewer blowouts, more competitive games. So to that extent, competitive equity has worked. And I
Hmm.
always come back to this point of, there is no perfect model. We
Nope,
have
not at
yet
all.
to find one. And I know that people are always still clamoring for divide up the publics and the privates, and, make it a two, or, make two different state playoff runs, for each one. And I mean, that's been a debate, I think, in California for decades, I haven't really gotten a lot of reasons why that wouldn't work, but I'm sure there are tons, because again, if it did work, I feel like, we would have instituted, or at least tried it by now. But to this point, I think that competitive equity, or the model itself, I think probably does need a few tweaks. I don't think that, the state should really just kind of go strictly by the rankings. I think there should be some consideration for section winners. Like, hey, if you win a section championship game, kind of like how the NCS playoff works, where, like, if you win your league title, you get to host a first round game, no matter, what seed you are, unless you, play another league, league winner. Um, I think if there's some consideration for that, I think that would probably go a long way. It does just, it does kind of suck to see, again, a team winning a section title, like a high level section title, and then essentially getting punished, for
Yep.
doing so. I mean, that's kind of the biggest gripe that people have is like, hey, you lose a section semifinal game or you lose a section championship game, you're going to drop down and be probably a higher seed in a lower division rather than if you win and you get bumped up to a higher division and then you're a worse seed and then you're probably one and
Yeah.
done, So and I think there's a lot of weight to that argument as well. So maybe there is some consideration and there for sure I think is some amending that the CIF can do about how the seating profile works and stuff. But again, obviously right now it's too late to kind of institute any of that for now. But anyway, I mean it's an interesting debate. And again, I know it's very kind of inside baseball here, but it is I think if you really do follow high school sports and you're kind of asking like why the hell are some of these teams seated so poorly, and I mean this is why. And again, it's like if you have a great season, there's a chance that you are punished, as well. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't think it's a perfect model. I don't think there is a perfect model, but I do think that there are some things that the CIF can do to make it a better model, which I hope maybe takes some consideration in the future. So anyway,
Yeah.
those are my 2 cents on the competitive equity stuff for this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with those things. I would also say that I've yet to see a better
Yeah,
model regardless.
yeah,
So it's just, it is what it is. This is where we're at right now with like high school sports in California, and who knows what may happen in the next 5, 10, or whatever years, a new model might break through, and that's the saving grace or whatever for some teams, maybe, I don't know, but I think this is as fair of a way as you can get right now for doing this. And Gus is like it's like the age old saying in journalism, you can't please everybody, so
I think everyone's happy.
um you can't keep everyone happy. So yeah, I think no, I pretty much basically agree with all your sentiments. I don't really think there's too much to add on it.
Yeah, it's and I do think that I mean again, the more that I've kind of been doing this job and being in this like, the prep sports scene in California, the more I'm kind of becoming aware of kind of the yearly debates now about this model and about if it works and
Yeah.
if it doesn't and all this different stuff. And I do think the calls are growing louder and louder every year for some sort of change. So we'll see if the CIF hears that and if a change is possibly instituted. But nothing that I've kind of seen so far has indicated that there will be. So that is, I guess, the other side of things too. Is I see a lot of complaining and not a lot of people. Suggesting different proposals that might actually work better. So
Yeah, exactly.
anyway, and it is what it is. So it's the model we have now, far from perfect, but it's what we got, and I think it's better than the former model, which again, so many blowouts, lots of uncompetitive games. I mean, you had like the old there was one point that someone was making online that I saw too, where like Sierra Canyon a couple years ago, which is a small school powerhouse private school from Southern California, that's where Bronny James went. It's where all these NBA players kids go now. A couple years ago they won the state Division 5 championship, and they were playing against a bunch of smaller small school private and small public schools, and it's like at that point again, like the playing field is not even there, like you
Oh,
have.
well, trust me. Hey, I remember because I was still in high school when that happened,
There you
and
go.
that was back in 2015. They were the one seed down south. I think we were the one. I think we,
Stuart
as in
Hall, there
Stewart
you go.
Hall. Stewart Hall was the one seed up north, and we would have had to play. If I think we got upset, but we would have had to play University again for the third time, which we were blowing out every time we played them. But then if we had gone that far, then we would have probably gotten blown out by Sierra Canyon in the state championship game. So that's funny. That's funny you bring that up.
There you go.
Um,
So
Yeah.
It's all full circle here, Keenan. So that's pretty funny.
100%, 100%. But then
All
Stuart
right.
Hall just won D5 state title in the last couple of years anyway. So, anyways, we could have this conversation every day of the week. But
I know exactly.
anything else you want to talk about, Gus?
I think that about does it. Oh, I guess also I know this is the PDPreps podcast, but I guess we will talk about some local college stuff here. But state basketball playoffs starting this week for the SRJC men's and women's basketball teams. Both games are going to be both teams are going to be Wednesday night. Men play at 5:30. Women play at 7:30. Women obviously had the awesome run to the NorCal or to the state semifinals last year, which was super fun to follow. And then yeah, I mean the men have been one of the hottest teams in Northern California this year. I think they only got the 14 seed though, and they're hosting the 19 seed. I think it's College of San Mateo. The women, I think, are the 10 seed. The Big Eight was just a freaking gauntlet this year as far as
It's
women's
always a
basketball
gauntlet.
goes. Yeah, so I think they got the 10 seed. They're hosting a game as well on Wednesday. I forgot the team that they're playing, but yeah, doubleheader. If you like basketball and you like good competitive basketball, Hale Pavilion on yeah on Wednesday night is the place to be. I'll be out there for some coverage and stuff. Yeah, and then yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I think earlier too, spring sports getting up and rolling here. So we had some I know baseball games have already started last week. We have a really high level softball game that I think you're gonna head out to here in a couple hours. Casa Grande, Cardinal Newman, two of the best softball teams in the area this year. I mean, Newman coming off of that, NCSD 4 title last year, Casa Grande coming off of the NCSD 2 title. Both teams again bring back so many talented players. So that should be a fun game. But yeah, like Kenan said, earlier too, we're going to start ramping up our spring sports coverage here. But kind of like we experienced during the fall sports season, football ran so long, it kind of ate up a bit into our winter sports preview time. So hopefully, we're going to try to avoid that again here. But looking at having some baseball and softball previews out next week. So
But don't get us wrong. We obviously want our winter sports to go as far as possible.
for sure,
But
for sure. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. Kenan, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for so much for watching and viewing and listening, however you consume it. It's been awesome. Now that we're doing it every couple weeks, it's been pretty cool. We always have packed episodes for you. So yeah, keep on tuning in, and other than that, we will see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks for watching, everyone.